Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading. Welcome to our trading room recording on Monday, the 19th of April, 2021. Now, for anyone that's new, what we do here is that we go through the economic calendar, just get an idea of what macroeconomic news is coming out for the week. And then obviously we follow up on it on a daily basis. This is Monday, so we'll look at the whole week ahead. Then we go over to the Logic FX trading flipboard page, where over the weekend I've been flipping all the interesting stories, either about macroeconomics, about individual companies, or about trends. We'll discuss those, and then we go over and we run through our charts, of which at the moment there, I don't know, maybe there's 50. And then we go and look at individual stocks that maybe have been mentioned in the stories, or something that we've already invested in and we're just keeping an eye on it, or something is happening in the sector. We have a look at those, and then we go over and look at our trading account, our training account that we use for training. And that's the whole package. We do that on a daily basis, 5 days a week, folks. Now, what I'm going to do is split it up. We have the subscribers on the website. We'll get the whole thing every day. And for YouTube and, marketing purposes, we'll be putting out little sections onto YouTube, into Twitter, etc., etc. You know how this thing works, guys. So if you're watching it and you want to know more, all the information is out there, and we'll see how it goes from there, guys. Right, let's get going. Monday, employment change, UK hasn't come out yet, guys. It's nearly 10 o'clock. I don't know why this hasn't been updated. Previous minus 147, actually no forecast, which is unusual. Someone's sleeping on the job over here at Daily FX. New Zealand, later this evening, inflation rate, forecast 1.4, previous 1.4, not expecting any big change there. And then 21st, which will be 2 days' time, Wednesday, we'll get core inflation rate and the inflation rate coming out of the UK, forecast 1% and 0.7%. Canada core inflation rate and inflation rate out at 1:30 on the same day, forecast 2.3. Interesting. And then their interest rate decision. So big day for the CAD on Wednesday. Have to keep an eye out for that, folks. I'm quite bullish on the CAD at the moment, although my current CAD trades have all gone off in the wrong direction. Got to try and get my head around what happened this morning. The dollar's dropped on the 1 hour time scale, it's dropped like a stone, which has pushed the euro up. And the yen and the Swiss have also got a bit of a boost. Just wondering, is it a bit of a move to safety? I hope not, because everything in my portfolio at the moment is all about things moving in the right direction, guys. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and if we need to go defensive, then that's what we'll do. April 22nd, which will be, let me get this right, guys. We're the 19th today. So Tuesday, know what I've done? Tuesday's then the 20th, that's tomorrow, that's why it hasn't come up, folks. Yeah, there's no major news today. There's today. No major events. So then, that's Tuesday, that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then that information must be coming out on Saturday, which is unusual, but nonetheless. Let me just check the dates there, folks. I'll get my calendar up here, just to make sure that we're not talking rubbish. 26th is Monday. Well, it's the next 7 days, so there's a weekend in there, folks. So that's Friday afternoon there. Okay, so ECB interest rate decision on Thursday then, obviously expected to come in at 0, but everybody will be keeping an eye on the press conference to see if there's any sign of increasing bond buying, or maybe decreasing it, but a tapering. Not expecting that, but it's hard to keep a tag on what's going on between the dollar and the euro at the moment, guys. You would have expected the dollar to drop because of all the liquidity that's being pumped in, but at the same time, a couple of weeks ago we had all the panic about bond rates going up, but they seem to have settled down since then. So the dollar started to drop. Isn't a big deal because it's kind of what we were expecting. The problem is, where do you get the turn? So but we'll look at the chart in a moment, folks. So this may, depending on what's said here, may be the catalyst for the dollar starting to go long again. And as I say, let's just have a look at it in a minute. Dollar's been dropping. There's that move this morning, folks. But, don't panic when you see things like that. There was one, there was one, there was one. And each of those all reversed, except that, but the trend was down there. I'm expecting the trend from back here. We called that the bottom. And we said that the dollar on the higher time scale will go flat. But, in this 1 hour time scale, for a period of time, it'll climb up. And we don't know exactly, guys, where the drawdown will be. I don't expect it to go down there anytime soon, maybe later in the year, 3-4 months' time, into the end of the summer. Maybe the dollar starts to drop as the rest of the world gets up and going. And then, the dollar isn't as attractive because there's money to be made elsewhere. But at the moment, I still see more upside to the dollar. You don't have to jump in there, guys. Wait for it to start to come up. Let it tell you where it's going, and then potentially we can trade it back up. Now, I got long in the dollar here, folks. So for a week, I've been going in the wrong direction, and I thought, to be honest, over the weekend, I thought we'd start to see a turn there. So that little drop surprised me. Okay. So, a lot of interest, more inflation rate in Japan this week, and then that's Friday, and market manufacturing PMI in US on Friday afternoon. So, there's going to be a lot of action this week, guys. So, we'll need to be on our toes to try and take advantage of it. And if we're in the wrong direction, then somehow defend our positions. Okay, so that's the economic calendar. Let's go over and look. Now, this section on a Monday is much longer than normal. I'm not saying any of them are short, but you've got a whole weekend's worth of news stories, and as we just saw, a whole week's worth of calendar events to look at. So where were we Friday afternoon? I think I wanted to start with that because of the dollar. Dollar set for back-to-back weekly losses on Fed's lower for longer stance. The thing about that, saying it's for the Fed's lower for longer stance, is that 3 weeks ago when the Fed were saying that, no one believed them and the bond rates were going up, and everybody was in a panic, saying the market knows more than the Fed does. And then you get this, headline fitting what's already happened. Now, you need to watch out for that with news stories, guys. These guys are journalists. They're putting the stuff out there. They've got a deadline. Get the story out. Dollar's gone down. What's it to do with? Oh, it's because of that. Well, do you know what? It possibly isn't because of that. I'm not saying it definitely is. I'm just saying take it with a pinch of salt. Turkey bans use of cryptocurrencies for payment, sends Bitcoin down. Yet again, there was a crash in Bitcoin over the weekend. Now, this was 3 days ago. It was yesterday there was a crash in Bitcoin. And I think, I'm not sure, but certainly Ethereum dropped as well. There was probably a crash across cryptocurrencies. They don't know at the minute what the reasons were, guys. Everyone's speculating. Everything from China, power cuts in China, right through to, it's hit its peak and therefore it's correcting, both of which could possibly be true. What we've got to deal with is the fact that it's dropped. If you're in it, then don't panic. It's a long-term bet. If you're in short-term the way I am, well, I wasn't in, so I've got in. So we'll have to see. But yet again, we'll look at the chart in a moment. Angion Biomedica buying below IPO price may reward. Yeah, I can't buy below the IPO price. I think it just threw this story in because it's of interest, and down the line we might find that company interesting. Recovery trade is still on, says Ron Isana. Yep. Four horsemen driving the retail trading euphoria, SPACs, stonks, cryptos, and NTFs. Not going to bother reading that, guys, but anyone who wants to know anything about what SPACs are, stonks, cryptos, and NTFs, have a look at it. It's all very speculative. The end of Made in China analysis. Yet again, bigger macroeconomic story, guys, over the next few years are all the companies that raced into China over the last 10 years. Are they now saying, hang on a minute, this isn't really worth it? And then over and above that, Chinese wages are going up. And also there's a lot more robotics going on, mechanization going on in manufacturing. So maybe strategic, it might be smarter for these companies to start investing in their countries of origin, United States, Europe, etc. That's what that story's about. And of course they could always go to a place like the Philippines and whatever. I'm not saying that they're suggesting that, but I'm just saying if you're looking for somewhere that's a bit more reliable. Free tech ETFs that could make you a multimillionaire. That, guys, don't worry about the multimillionaire thing. That's just the way the Motley Fool puts its headlines to get you to read them. Vanguard Information Technology, we had a look at that a few months ago. Decided to go with Cathie Wood with her ARK. I think it's ARK K. Invesco S&P 500 equal weight. Guys, these are long-term investments, which isn't really what I do, but it's there for any of you who are interested in it. Crypto flash crash wiped out. There it is, guys. 300 billion in less than 24 hours, spurring massive Bitcoin liquidations. Guys, Coinbase is going to get battered today because of this. I stupidly got into Coinbase last week when it IPO'd, and every time I see an IPO, I'll tell you guys, don't go near it. And then every now and again, I'll go near it. So do as I say, don't do as I do, guys. Listen, in trading, you've always got to be in control of your own emotions. And if you're a real cool character with no impulsive moves in you, then you're probably quite good at trading, although you'll not do 100% in a year. And then if you're a bit of a gung-ho, you'll either crash out and burn, or you'll get lucky and do 100, 150% a year, but you'll not keep that up for 10 or 15 years. And then you got to try and be something in the middle, folks, which is what I'm trying to be, is something in the middle. But every now and again, I do something which at the moment that I'm doing it seems like a good idea. And the next morning, usually the next morning, I'll think, why did I buy that? And if you're like that, it's always best to get out of something. If you've got into something and there's the old buyer's remorse, you've got to be aware of that as well. And you don't really believe in it. If it's a gamble, then if it doesn't suit your strategy, your trading strategy, then take a small loss on it, guys. Or if it's just in the green, put your stop loss to zero. IPOs aren't a good idea, guys. The people that make money in IPOs are all the people who were involved in it before it was released. Give the thing a time to settle down in order to get some information about the company and get some statistics on the graph, and then you can start to say, hey, this is looking good, let's trade on it. Even if it shoots up from an IPO, guys, and most of them don't, most of them drop after the IPO because the directors and the all the insiders have all bought in and they sell the minute it opens. But even if it did go up and you missed it, it'll come down again. It'll correct, and that's whenever to get into it. New investors, beware, the easy money you made in the stock market probably won't continue. Of course it won't continue. This last year has been, guys, anybody who's been trading for any length of time knows that the stock market doesn't do this. And it certainly won't continue to do this. So we are looking for a correction of all of the move up that we've had. The thing is, do you sit in your hands for months and wait for the correction? Or do you keep trying to trade a little bit and be defensive, which is kind of what I'm trying to do. There will be a correction, guys. Fisker's the future and will make investors incredibly rich. It must be, it's Seeking Alpha. I thought that was a motley fool. And quickly generate over £1,000% in gains. It looks like they're lining up with, they've got Apple in here, guys. Now, I read the story and then I went to eToro to try and, have a look and see what they thought of the stock and whether to buy it or not. It's not on eToro, guys, so I can't buy it. Fisker and Apple iPhone builder Foxconn, new partnership agreement soon to be finalized. So, yet again, it's one of those ones that may move on the news, this news. Or it may take the market a little bit of time to realize what's going on. So it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the line. But it's worth looking at. It's worth doing your research. And if your broker allows you to invest in it, maybe we'll look at. I'll write this down. We'll look at the. I can obviously pull up a chart, not in eToro, but in TradingView. We'll have a look at the chart, see what it's doing, and give you a bit more information, what I think of it. Tesla with no one driving crashes in Texas, killing 2. Well, excuse me, folks. Don't like to speak ill of the dead, but Tesla aren't fully automated, guys, so why no one was driving, I have no idea. I don't think that will have a major effect on Tesla price, guys. Credit Suisse new chair, saw him on Bloomberg this morning, guys, very, very experienced. Hopefully Credit Suisse, did I say Tesla there? Credit Suisse. Hopefully you can steady the boat and start the stock price coming up again. I took a bit of a gamble on it, guys. After it dropped with the Archegos thing last week, the week before, I thought to myself, this is probably oversold. It hasn't really moved. It's steadied, but it hasn't really moved up since. So I might have to wait a while. But bringing this guy in might just make the market a little bit more excited about Credit Suisse. Maybe they'll give him a few weeks because they dumped some more Archegos stocks the other day. They must have had a few billion more hidden away somewhere. I don't know if it was a few billion, but Discovery dropped again I think it was Friday it dropped. I know Discovery dropped because it was another one that bought into after the Archegos debacle. I think Discovery will be it's a good stock. Yes, it might go down a little bit from where I bought it, but it'll settle around there. And if you give it time, it'll start to come back up again, guys. Sears crypto washout warning as massive 300 billion price crash suddenly tanks Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, XRP. So everyone's guessing, guys. So you can read that one. You can listen to Bloomberg. Everybody's guessing what happened. The thing is, do you see, if you're already in Bitcoin, do you buy some more? Or is this a sign that it's got a much deeper correction to come? And if you're not in it, do you get in? Well, I got in, but my finger will be hovering over the sell button or the close button all day long, I assure you. And if I want to stay in Bitcoin, I maybe need to get away from the computer. But I did say last week, if it corrected, I would consider getting into it. So we'll have to see. US SEC expected to impose fair amount of regulation on cryptocurrencies. This is another reason that crypto may take a realization check. There's two things happening in crypto, and if you go way back, turns out I was wrong on it, but at the end of the day, guys, it depends on what your trading strategy is. If you want to take lots of risks, if you're 20 years of age and you've got 40 years to earn money, fair enough, take all the risks you want, so long as you're prepared to lose your money. If you're older and you want to have a good steady Eddie account, then do not be doing that. So back a few years ago, even this time last year, guys, no interest in Bitcoin. And what I said then was, whenever the big boys get interested in it, whenever it's regulated, I'll be interested in Bitcoin. The problem is that now that the big boys are getting interested, now it's getting regulated, the price is where it is, which is 5 times higher than what it was this time last year. So it's not going to be explosive anymore, guys. The volatility will slowly but surely come out of it, and it will just become humdrum, a bit like gold or silver or what have you. I'm not saying it won't continue to go up, but it will settle down, and that'll be it for the crypto mania over the next couple of years. So, is this the start of it? Quite possibly. But getting back to today, this week, stories like this are no good for the price of Bitcoin, guys. There could be a lot of people say, do you know what? I've made good money. This is a turning point. I'm getting out. So you could see it accelerating down. I'm not saying it's going to, guys. I'm just saying be aware that it could. Stocks are on the brink of a grizzly bear market. Yet again, guys, I agree with them. There's going to be a correction. Timing's the thing. As always with trading, it's timing. Doing the analysis, once you've been around it a while and you do the work, guys, doing the analysis is relatively easy. Timing and your trading strategy is the thing. So many times I get things right and then don't make any money out of them because I didn't trade them because I got the timing wrong. Sorry, throat's got a frog in my throat here. On a macro level, I've looked at things like silver when it was down around $14, $15, and I said, listen, this will go up to $30 in the next year. Missed the trade, guys. Just couldn't get into it. And once it's already gone, you kind of go, oh, well, that's it. And then it goes and goes and goes. Oil, whenever it was coming off, I don't mean in the crash last March. I mean, before that, I was saying it was going to come off, and missed that because it was stopped out by an opening spread. Got my stop loss too tight, guys. But there are times that you do really good analysis and you look back on it and you go, I called that. And the evidence is all there. I've done over 700 of these recordings. All the evidence is there. But it's a few times you miss it. Don't miss it all the time. But what I'm saying is the hard thing is getting the timing right, folks. TA Ethereum corrects losses. Here's why 2,300 is a major hurdle. Well, where I bought it, if it gets to 2,300 with my current trading strategy, I'll be out anyway, so I'm not overly worried about that. But if you're long term, then that might be worth reading. 3 signs to watch to spot a stock market crash. So back feeding into this story, people starting to talk about a crash. Guys, don't worry, it's not today or tomorrow. It's possibly later in the year. It might even be next year, guys, when the Fed starts to taper, interest rates start going up. You'll see the inflation figures coming through first, and then you'll hear a change of tone of the Fed, and then you'll see the market panic, and that could be the start of the correction or the crash, as they call it. I don't think there'll be a crash, guys. Yet again, it's just clickbait, as they call it. This is to get you to read the story. There'll be a correction or even a bear market. Correction is 10%, bear market's 20%, crash is 30%. I don't think there'll be a crash. We had a crash last year, guys. We're not have another crash. How to play the 2.6 trillion clean energy investment boom? Well, there's a lot of us already been playing it, guys, over the last year. Anything that's been green energy, solar power, even hydro, plug, all of those, they're already shot away up. A lot of them have dropped off again, so it's now about being patient until the markets, gets through all of this coronavirus stuff, and then you'll start to see them coming up again. So I think it's probably a story for 3 months, 6 months down the line. At the minute, the markets aren't interested in growth. They're interested in earnings at the minute, folks. Here's how much coin executives at Coinbase sold last week. And this is what I'm saying to you about getting involved in an IPO, guys. I got involved in it. I'm in the red. These guys have my money. Minting the coin. Now, why was it such a bad idea? And why did I had 2 trades on. One of them I got rid of. The other one was too far in the red to get rid of. And why I suddenly changed my mind about it was that combined market capitalization was over $100 billion. And you go, well, what does that mean? Well, the NASDAQ that's been around since 1970, most of my life, is only worth $19 billion. And all of a sudden, crypto, and it's not unique, the big banks, etc., are going to get into starting to trade crypto. Other crypto trading companies will come around. So it doesn't have a unique selling point, guys. And they priced it at $100 billion. Now, there are people saying it'll go to 600, but I don't. How does that happen? The CEO, that's the present CEO, Brian Armstrong, came out at the weekend and said he thought it was worth 5 to 10 billion. The CEO said it was worth 5 to 10 billion. I'll show you where to find that. If you go over to my website, I flipped it into there. I can't remember the name of the guys that interviewed him or talked about it. They were talking about an interview. News and reviews will be in here. Listen, you can also get these on YouTube. If you look at my, what do you call them? Name's gone out of my head, guys. Your little collections of videos. But anyway, you can come here. And where is it? No, I'm telling you lies. It didn't flip it by the looks of things. Let me pause you and I'll find it and flip it. And then you can... Oh, sorry. Pause. Oh, for goodness sake. I don't know which of these is playing. Sorry, folks. I lost my internet there. I assume this is recording now. I hope so, because I've got another half an hour to go on this. Yeah, the internet dropped there, folks. So hopefully this is still recording. Yeah, what I was about to say, we're looking at the dollar from, we'll better zoom in a little bit here. From here, as we said earlier, we're basically saying it's running flat. But remember, on a higher time scale, running flat can mean, doing that sort of thing. But we don't know exactly where the top is, and we don't know exactly where the bottom is. I'm going to assume that that's the bottom. So this move down, when we got this, let's take our back down again to, say, 4 hours. Now, for you guys who've been with me a long time, I'm going to explain something that you already know, so please just bear with me. When we got this move up here, from there, as I said, listen, we're going to have to get a drawdown here within this channel before it goes long again. Now, the thing about this is, guys, whenever you get a move down like that, it's very, very difficult to persuade yourself that it's going to suddenly change direction and do that. But then that has to be part of your trading strategy. And often I will, now I only trade with trend, guys, so I didn't try and trade that down. I'm trying to trade it long because that's where I think the trend is. Now, if the thing's going to run flat, it doesn't matter so much, guys, because so long as you're not running with tight stop losses, you're not over trading, then even if this were to drop further, it should come back up again, as the thing runs flat. We don't know exactly how it's going to run flat, but if it's running flat, which for me is the minimum that it's doing, I basically, from back here, I basically said, listen, it's going to run like this. And what I actually did at the time, let me see if I've still got it here. Can't find it. Yeah, what we did at the time is we went back and we copied this and said, well, listen, it's going to run something like that. Not exactly like that, guys, but rather than impulsive, it's going to run something like that. Okay, which means that there are going to be times when it drops and then it'll, climb, but it's up and down and up and down and up and down. And it'll probably run within this band here, which is the reason why I've got those two lines in there, guys. They're probably the wrong color because they're not supposed to be targets. But nonetheless, that's the range that I think the dollar's going to go in. And then as we get towards the end of, into the third quarter, and we'll know about it because we're watching it every day. We're listening, we're looking at the bond markets, we're watching to see what the Fed's saying or not saying, as the case may be, what's happening in markets around the world. At some point, I think the dollar will continue to drop because they've printed that much of it. It has to devalue at some point. But we're not looking at that at the moment, guys, so I'm going to take that off. Because I don't want people saying, hey, you said when it got the August it would drop. We're looking at it every day. When it gets to August, if I think it's going to drop, I'll tell you I think it's going to drop. And if I think it's going to still stay flat, I'll tell you guys. But at the minute, run flat for a few months anyway, into maybe the third quarter. We're just started the second quarter. So another 3-4 months, and I think that's when maybe it'll start to drop. And if anything changed between now and then, obviously we'll know about it. So what's going to happen this week? What's going to happen today? I don't know exactly why that's dropped. Oh, I do. The bond market. So the bond yield's gone down. So that's gone down with it, guys. It may continue to push down the rest of the day, but you know, they always come back again, guys. So if your trend's like that, or even if it's like that, there will be a push back up again. So whether it gets down to there, whether it just drops a bit more and then turns and goes, that's the trade I'm looking for in the dollar. So how does that look then? Well, before we get there, let's have a quick look at our stock markets just to see where they're going in a minute. Pushing on up. Pushing on up. Now, this is closed at the minute. I'm not sure if they include the futures in this chart, because it used to say it was closed. So I think they're including the futures in this. So that's possibly where it's going to open. If we go and have a look at the VIX, it might give us a clue. Well, the VIX is opening more or less where it closed, which is short. Well, it's not short. It's slightly below where it closed. You need to really zoom in. No, it isn't. Yeah. It's opening where it closed, so there's nothing much there. So it looks like things are going to open flat today. It doesn't look like there's going to be much movement, but if there's any, it looks like it's going to be up. What we do here, for anyone that's new, is that if you wanted to trade this, if you weren't in this and you wanted to trade it, what I would do is I would wait for a correction and then trade it from here somewhere. If you get in there, the odds are it will correct, guys. So always look for a pullback before you try and get into something. If you're already in it and you believe that it's going to keep going up, well then fair enough, put your stop loss to 0, so that if it does come back down, you don't lose any money. Or if you want to add to the position because on a higher time scale you think it's going to keep going up, then obviously don't put your stop loss to 0, but add to it over there if that's what you want to do. So that's what I mean when I draw these. It doesn't mean I'm saying it's definitely going to do that. It's if then. We're always doing analysis with if then. So if that happens, then that could potentially be a good place to buy it. Doesn't mean you have to buy it. Just means it could be a good place. S&P 500, same thing. Just drew it in a hurry. We like to draw them as little zigzags because that's sort of the ideal situation for a flag to go long, but they don't always give it us. But, you know, back there we'd have done that. Back here we'd have done that. Now we're looking for another one. Maybe it comes off sharply like that. And then that's your opportunity to buy, unless something's changed. But if something's changed, then I'll tell you. This was the little recording I did yesterday from the 23rd of March. And just... you can find that on YouTube, and also, as I said earlier, you can find it here. Trading Analysis Review, 21st of March, March 2021. And I just went through it all and took snapshots of the market as it is today and showed you how the analysis was correct, folks. Where are we? That many of these open. Oh yeah, we're over here. So yet again, NASDAQ it's pushing up at the minute, guys. I'm kind of thinking that it might push on up into that sort of area. Remember, the dollar falling is good for the stock markets. Bond rates falling is encouraging for stock markets. So you could see, listen, we're not seeing it at the moment in the futures market, but you could see a bit more of a push up the rest of this week into there, and then maybe we see another correction back down. I don't think we'll get a correction back to there. What I'd been drawing last week was looking at this and saying, well, it might actually be an impulse. And with an impulse, it could well be. Well, they're usually 5 waves, guys. So you're looking at something of that order of magnitude here, maybe a flat. Could happen a bit higher, but given where the top of the channel comes in, I imagine maybe we'll get a bit of a flat here, and then we get one more push up, And then at that level, we start to say, well, what's next? But we're not there yet. Don't think too far ahead, sorry, folks. Nikkei, in a little flat correction, I think it'll eventually break out. UK, oh, yet again, this was from yesterday, folks. And of course, we scribble things, guys, because of that many charts to do every day. If I were to start, you know, doing all the little A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be here all day long. So, what do you expect? This, yeah, well, at the moment it's in that. It could certainly spike on up. We're expecting it to go long, but, you know, if you wanted to trade the index, you'd have to wait for a pullback, folks. I don't trade indexes, by the way. I'm no good at them. I always get them wrong, always lose money on them, so I don't do it. Trade what you're good at trading, folks. Be a specialist. French, yeah, yet again, it's pushed up and up. That was our target from away down here. Obviously, we had a target was just taken from the previous high. So you're looking for another correction, something like that, something like that, something like that. There's a little running flat there, guys. Looking for a correction to get long into it. Provided the vaccination program continues in Europe, you will see their economy starting to open up. And of course, the market always precedes what's happening. You don't wait for the thing to happen to buy the short stock. You have to predict it weeks and months ahead, guys. So this is the prediction that they're going to get it right. So yet again, if we zoom in on this, we're in the 4 hours here, by the way, folks. So if you get a bit of a drawdown, it may be an opportunity to get in long. Now, China, this looks to me like, if we go back to last week or something, and we started getting this, I kind of thought to myself, we were drawing that, which is essentially a zigzag. ABC with potential little 3 in there, and maybe that was our 3, a little flat. A, B, C, and then off you go again. But what I think it was Friday, I said, listen, I don't think it's going to drop. Looking at the fundamentals, I don't think it's going to drop. What I think's happening here is you're getting something like that, bit of an ending diagonal, and then it'll start to go long. Now, it's not guaranteed. We don't trade on technical analysis alone. We mix it up with our understanding of what's going on in the real world. But, you know, taking a look at what was going on in the real world, I kind of thought, well, it's probably more likely to be some sort of ending diagonal, and then markets are going to keep going that way. Remember, that's the direction of the trend, and I always trade with trend. It means that if you get it wrong, there's always a chance that it'll come back into trend, and you'll get out of the, you know, the having traded in the wrong direction. And if you're trading with trend and something goes, then you're going to get the Brucey bonus. You're going to get the, you know, the boost beyond your target, but you'll not get that if you're trading against trend. So from my point of view, always try and trade with trend. So there's a little spike up. Doesn't mean it's the start of something, but it could quite possibly be. If you wanted to trade this, guys, if you trade it with a stop loss that was, you know, away down here somewhere, you're not going to lose out because it's not going to get down to there. But if you wanted to be a bit tighter, well, you could be wrong if you got tight in there. So what I would do is let it come up a bit. It will correct. It'll give you, you know, a flag or something, and then it'll probably trade like that. So I would wait for there before we try and trade it. I'll not be trading it. I'm just saying if you wanted to trade it. Aussie 200, same thing. When it was in here, we called it flat. That's what this is all about. It ran there and we just said flat and it'll break out. So that's exactly what it's done. Flat and it's broken out. Now that it's broken out of its flat, it's a little bit more difficult to predict what it's going to do next. But if you want to get into it yet again, you're going to have to wait for a correction and then trade it maybe up to there as your target. And then we'll see. Once it gets to there, we'll have to decide what it's going to do next, folks. And there's reasons why those targets are where they are, and we'll not go into them right now. Russell 2000 is running flat, guys. I think eventually there'll be an upside to it. These are the small caps, US small caps, 2000 small cap companies. Would you get in? Listen, when it was like that, I think I did. I called it long from there. Lost the top of my arrow. Called it long from there. It's starting to move up. Listen, when something's running flat, it's always tough to call it in the middle. So you need to trade it in such a way that if you're wrong, you cover yourself. In other words, your stop loss needs to be at least below there. For me, if I was trading it that way. Or if I was going to trade the index. And why is that? Well, because it's running flat, or even people call that a head and shoulders. But I don't think, listen guys, I don't think we're not going to suddenly see it do that. That's why you don't trade it technically, guys. You need to know that what's going on in the background, so that whenever you see a certain pattern. Now, if I was expecting a drawdown at this point in time, and I saw the head and shoulders, I'd say, hey, that's ominous. Let's trade it down. But the fundamentals at the moment are telling us long. As we just saw, the dollar's dropping. Why? Because the bond rates are dropping. So the yields are dropping. Why are the yields dropping? Because the money's flowing into stocks. And people aren't seeing that, listen, there's going to be inflation, but it's going to be transitory. It's going to be, inflation that comes in because of a hold up in supply of stuff. For example, everyone's talking about the stock, not the stock prices, the chip, the chip shortage. Well, the chip shortage has come around because we had the pandemic. And the factories obviously weren't running at full capacity, but they were also looking at what was going ahead. And they're saying, hey, they're not going to need as many chips because they've all shut down. And now as we're starting to open up again, they're saying, hey, we need chips. And they're going, hang on, give us a chance. So it's temporary. And when you get a situation like that where there's a big demand and they can't supply it, prices go up. Temporary inflation, guys, or transitory inflation. And the same with timber. Timber prices have all shot up. Same thing. Mills all closed down because they were expecting the building trade to shut down because of the lockdown. Didn't. Everybody started building because everyone was stuck at home. So they all started doing DIY, doing extensions. Building trade got up and running again once we're allowed to work with mass. So the demand for timber went up whenever the supply was going down. Timber prices shot up, but it's only temporary. First thing is that the rate of building will level off, and secondly, the mills will catch up on the demand, guys. So that inflation will go away. Okay, where are we next? Okay, so that's the Russell 2000. We looked at the VIX. Let's go on. Okay, DXY, we've looked at it a few times. I expect the next move to be up. But guys, when I draw an arrow, I don't mean it's going straight up. There's an arrow. Look how it got there. And I expect it will get there the same way if it gets there, if it gets back up to there. I expect that's how it does. Maybe that turns out to be the top, folks. So if it comes up and it approaches there, I'm going to be very wary. It could push on up to there, but if it approaches there, I'm going to be wary and say, hey, I'm not so sure if it's going to push through or whether we're going to get a rebound off it. So at that level, I'll probably take any profits that any trades that I've get into, I'll take them if I haven't already closed them. Now, this is nasty because that's the result of, that drop in DXY or vice versa. But I think it's the drop in the dollar that's caused this to happen. I'm still going to say this is going to drop, guys. Now, What happens if I'm wrong? Well, it should still correct at some point. I'm not saying jump in there short. Once it starts to come off, maybe tomorrow, could be later today, but let's say tomorrow, Tuesday, and we start to get some sort of corrective structure here, we'll have a bit more news. You know, the rest of the day I'll be watching Bloomberg, and then it's tomorrow morning Bloomberg, hear what they have to say. You know, they're not necessarily right, but just get a general feel of what the experts are saying, so-called experts. And then we'll decide whether, well, that's it, the dollar's going to, you know, drop down to the bottom. You know, it's going to continue down into this sort of area, or whether this is it and it's going to start to come up. I suspect over the next 24 hours, 48 hours, it's going to start to come up. If I'm wrong, we'll talk about it tomorrow, guys. But don't trade in such a way that if you're wrong, you lose a lot of money. Because that's how you blow your account. Because then you're guessing and you're gambling. Just want to clean that up a little bit for us, guys. Okay. Pound USD, bit of a push up. Yet again, I'm expecting a drop. Because what we have here, well, what we said with the pound was that it would either run flat or it would run short in a diagonal. That's what we have there. I suspect that will continue. But at the moment, we've had the little push up. Now, when we got to there, I said, listen, it'll probably go up. But I wasn't brave enough to trade it. So if it comes up any higher, maybe I trade it down, but not far, guys. You know, it's come down. Maybe it runs flat from here. Maybe it drops a little bit. Not expecting it to go very far. So you can't get it real, you know, very wrong, guys. And then there's the Aussie. Well, we thought it was going to go long. Yet again, within this, we're trying to set parameters in this, guys. Is it going to run flat within that range, or is it running short within that range? It's one of the two of them, and therefore I'm not going to try and trade it up, despite the fact I think the Aussie's going to go long this year. But remember, you want to trade something that's going long against something that's going short, or at least something that's going flat. You don't want to trade long against long. Now, at the moment, the dollar's going short, but if you look at the trend, the dollar's going long. Back to the XY. Sorry, I'm spending a bit more time in this because I'm going to release this on YouTube, guys, for marketing purposes, or at least bits of this. So that's why I'm doing a little bit more explaining. So for me, there's the trend. Even if the trend is it's changed, let's say that's it, it's just a zigzag up and it's going to continue to go short, it's still going to have to pull back at some point before it goes short again. So we have that, and whether it happens here or whether it happens down there, there will be a pullback, guys. And during that period, we'll go, oh my goodness, it looks like the dollar's going to go short, and therefore we'll start to plan to short it. I'm not doing that yet. I still think it's long. I still think it's going to go long within this channel. So let's see. You can't just suddenly change the analysis you've been doing for months and on a you know, a couple of days go, it's wrong, it's going this way. We'll keep an eye on it. And there's the New Zealand, also pushing up, moves in a similar direction as the Aussie. I suspect it's going to drop. To be honest, I thought it would drop from there because we had this a little bit tighter at the time. But if you take a parallel, oh, sorry, that's probably not right there. That's probably better. If you take 1, 2, sorry, it should be from there. Oh, that doesn't look very good, does it? Remember, all these lines do, guys, is try and draw your eye so you can pick out the structure or the direction, the trend. They don't mean that because there's a line there that price can't break through it. So what do you do when you don't know? Well, you leave it alone, don't you? That's why I have no problem saying I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what's happening there. It will become apparent over the next week. It'll become apparent what the dollar's doing. Once you know what the dollar's doing, then you know what all of these other pairs are doing. CAD, a little bit different. Just expecting the CAD to run flat, guys. And you can see there, because yet again, the CAD's running long. And but the last week or so, the oil price been coming off. So within the higher time scale of CAD going long, we've had a drawdown, but I think eventually it'll come long. Let's go and look at it. CAD hasn't even dropped off that much, guys. Hasn't dropped from there. So that's a bit of a surprise there. I was looking at this. Sometimes you draw these in a higher time scale, and then you go down. They look massive, guys. They look exaggerated. What I was saying here a while ago, and I don't think it's going to be as big as that, was that when something's as well, when a structure is as well developed as that, then you start to look for a correction before you get your next leg up. If your analysis is still long. We've done really well over the last year trading this CAD up, but it looks like it wants to maybe run flat for a little while, folks. Which, remember, we're on 4 hours here. So there'd be no, you wouldn't be surprised if it pulled back down into there. We're not saying it's going down there. We're just saying it could well pull back down. Now, if it did that, that would be fantastic for trading it up within the structure. So I don't know that that's necessarily taught me anything other than the CAD's not as strong at the moment as I thought it was going to be. And that's what's stopping this pushing down. So this is probably going to run flat here. So it's not a trade for me. Swedish. Well, this is one of the ones I'm looking, and you can see it there. I'm looking for this to go long. Goodness. And only time will tell whether I'm right. As I'm not in it at the moment, you don't jump in, because it's going the wrong direction. Wait for it to start to turn, and then potentially there's a long trade there. And remember, we're in the 4 hours, so there you go. Now, another little thing from Elliott is when you get an impulse like that, and that is an impulse, guys. As we were talking about the what was it, Chinese 50 the other earlier. You look for a 3, guys, because you could well get another leg down, but there will be a correction here. It'll either be a flat or it'll be a pullback, and then when we're at this point, whatever this turns out to be, we can decide whether we think it's going to go long from there or whether it's going to drop back down to there to complete a zigzag. Now, it doesn't always do that, guys, but we'll be aware of that. Now, if it turns out that the bond rates go up tomorrow or later today or on Wednesday, then you could well see a spike in the other direction. When you see that spike, that's telling you, hang on, the dollar's going to keep moving up. So we'll know a little bit more tomorrow. I wouldn't do anything with the dollar today with it looking like that. Well, at the moment anyway. I'm already long in a few dollar trades, which are battering me at the minute. When I say battering me, they're down about 10%. This one, for example. Now, funny enough, on Friday we drew this and said, listen, it could push on down a bit. That's a 50% retracement. That's a pretty good retracement. Now, when we got to here, we probably drew, I can't remember exactly, but probably drew something like that and then said from there it'll go long. I think I got long here somewhere, guys, because we got that. That was a little 3. That's the other side of it. That's maybe a completed zigzag. So maybe it comes back up and the target would probably be there, guys. So I'm long in this at the minute. I wouldn't jump in long yet. If it starts to come up, maybe tomorrow we look at it and say, hey, dollar's coming back up again, trade that long. And you can see the same in the Chinese yuan. But yet again, you can see where I've been calling it long. US Swiss, same thing. I think I'm in this one as well, folks. Probably in from around here somewhere. So it's dropped again. I'm not going to panic about that. I'm looking for it to do that. Not jumping in there, guys. Wait for it to show you that it's, you get a little transition period, a little flat period, or a little ending diagonal, and then up it starts to come. Gold. Now, whatever's happened, and there's something afoot, guys. And at the moment, because I'm on here, I don't know what's going on here. But when you go through all of your charts and you start to see things, you start to pick up clues, and then you think, well, let's go and find out what's going on there. Now, I don't have the time to do that here while we're recording, but that's what I'll be doing the rest of the day. And if I find out what's going on, then obviously tomorrow we'll talk about it. Bitcoin has dropped. Now, it's recovered a little bit, but Bitcoin has dropped. The dollar has dropped. Gold's going long. The yen's going long. The Swiss is going long. All signs of movement to safety, guys. Now, obviously, the dollar dropping isn't a sign of move to safety normally, but because of the liquidity of the dollar at the minute, because there's they're just printing money and spending, maybe it's not getting its usual rush to safety, as it were. So maybe that's the reason why the dollar's going the opposite direction. But this is a bit of a surprise for me. Now, remember, gold trend is short and has been for months. What I've been saying is that until we see inflation kicking in and interest rates starting to kick up, now that's the thing that I don't get, is that the bond rates are actually dropping at the minute. But until you see inflation starting to kick in, you'll not see an impulsive move like that in the dollar and in gold. And we've also got to take into account now that Bitcoin's becoming, more mainstream. So some of the money that would have gone into gold and maybe silver in the past will now, be getting into Bitcoin. But we'll have to see if that's true or not. It's just what people are saying. But looking at this, for me, the trend's down. So do you try and trade it up, or do you wait till it gets there and trade it down? I don't trade gold because it's too expensive to trade, guys. But I would be more inclined, if you are a gold seller, listen, if you're long on it at the minute, fantastic. Put your stop to zero and see where you get to. But if you're not in it, I wouldn't be jumping in long there, guys. Certainly it can push on up within the trend, within this correction. But I would see another leg down. US economy is going too well for everybody to suddenly rush into safety, guys. On a long-term basis, for a week you can get it happening, but not necessarily long-term. Silver, yet again, it's moved up. Now, when it was coming down here, what I said was, I don't trade silver anymore, but I'll trade the ETF, SLV. Silver's yet again too expensive to buy. You need at least $1,000 on the trade in order to trade it on eToro, and it's just too, with a $14,000 account, that's just too much. So, it's what, 9% or something of the account. I'm not putting 9% into silver. But what I did say was that as it dropped here, I said, well, if it comes down into that sort of level, around $20, $22, then certainly I would buy it, because the next move will be back into this flat correction. Now, I'm not looking for it to do that anytime soon. That will have to be whenever the world economy has got over the reopening phase, and maybe there's, the markets are dropping and people are panicking and they're moving their money into safety. But having said that, remember in the last crash, that would be a normal move to safety, not a crash, guys. Back here, look, last March, crashed. And why did it crash? people were getting their margins called, so they were selling whatever they had. Get rid of your gold, get rid of your silver, get some cash in, pay your margin. That's why that fell, guys. So we're not expecting anything like that. So just to finish off what I was saying there, what I was saying last week, if it drops down to there, I'll buy SLV, because the chances are it'll move back into at least the middle of the of this channel. Remembering we're on 4 hours, so a move from there to there would have, more than covered my trading strategy, which at the minute is 5 to 10% on any individual trade, and I take it off the table. The reason I'm doing that is because everything is so highly valued at the minute, overbought, that I don't want to get into long-term trading at the minute until we get some sort of correction. Now, it might happen this week, it might happen in 6 months' time, guys, but I don't want to be stuck holding on to things, thinking I'm doing really well, and then bang, it all drops like a stone, and you lose it all. So I'm just taking my profits as I get them. Is that the right strategy? I don't know, guys. It's the strategy I'm using, and I can sleep at night when I do that. I don't worry about anything when I'm trading like that. That's not exactly true, but I worry if I get $30 drawn down, but not the sort of worry that would make you lose sleep. Just annoyance rather than, proper anxiety. So if you want to trade without anxiety, then you've got to set your targets low. It's okay to overshoot them. Set your targets low. Give it plenty of space and time, and don't put too much into any individual stock, guys. But then you have to have, if you're learning, make your target for the year 0. If you get 10 or 20% trading in such a way that your target's 0, in other words, you're being very defensive, doesn't matter, it's fantastic. But by having your target at 0, you take the pressure off yourself to not over trade and to not over leverage your trades. You're not aiming for 100% in your first year, your second year, your third year. You can start to aim for 100% when you've been trading in a good market. You've been trading for 5 or 6 years in a good market. Are there new people that have come into the market this year and they've made 100%? Yes, there are, but they'll not do it next year, guys, so the market won't do what it's done next year. The last year will not happen again. But the problem is they'll keep trading in that way, and eventually they'll blow it. It's just like somebody going to a casino, guys. You go into a casino, you get lucky within the first hour, and by the time you leave, not only have you lost all the money you made, but you lost the money you went in with. The best time to win in a casino, well, there's 2 things. First of all, winning the casino is a very rare event, but let's say you do win. If you go in the first hour and you make money, get out. But most people won't do that because they're there for the enjoyment. And the second way to win a casino is to win it late at night when you're knackered or exhausted and it's time to go home, and then you'll take your winnings with you. Trading's the same, guys. If you win too soon, you'll keep trading in the same way and it won't work, and you'll lose your money very, very quickly. You need to be conservative, at least until you know when to take risks. Bitcoin, and to you guys that are with me a long time, I'm sorry I'm doing a little bit more explaining here and it's taking a little bit more time. But as I say, I'm going to start taking little bits of this and doing the marketing with it. There's the Bitcoin drop, guys. It's kind of still where I bought it. It dropped. It's maybe up a few dollars, but not much. This is what I drew on Friday and said if it dropped down into there, this is 4 hours, by the way. I'd be interested in buying it if it gave us a flat correction. And then, by the time it gets back to the previous high, you've probably taken your profit, or you've at least got your stop loss to 0. Now, I've bought in here. It probably isn't the smartest move. But if it drops again within this, maybe I'll buy into it again if I don't panic and take a loss on it. And if it goes long from here, fair enough, I'll take my profit. Oil, Oil's in an upward trajectory. It's come a long way. It's having a little rest. It'll probably bounce along flat for a while, but don't expect it to go into there, guys. It's going to keep going up as the world economy opens up. I don't trade oil. It costs too much to trade oil. But obviously the oil price is part of the world economy. So it gives you clues about what's going on. And also it's good for trading the CAD or even their Norwegian krona, because they're both pretty influenced by oil production. EuroCAD, we're on the 4 hours there. I was a little bit unsure about this the other day. Yet again, guys, the euro is probably oversold. And therefore you're starting to get a move up with it. So I'm not. So I don't see. You see, when you look at the fundamentals, I don't know why the euro would go long. They're printing money just the way the US are, if not more so. Their economy's not booming the way the US economy's booming. They don't have the, the reputation or the desire to hold the dollar. The euro's not the same as that. But nonetheless, it's come a long way. So maybe there's upside to it. It's personal, guys. I don't like trading the euro long. Now, obviously, there are times when the euro goes long, but I'm usually then trading the dollar short rather than the euro long. Can this break through here and go up? Possibly. But as I've already said, I'm looking for the CAD to go to be strong this year. It's in a little bit of a correction, so while it's doing that, maybe you get another upside to this. So maybe we get, flat correction maybe? Maybe we get another leg up like that, giving us a zigzag, and then we start to continue their drop. But we'll find out. Could you try and trade that up? You could, but I'll not be. I'll not be trading it, but it's possible that it's a good trade. Euro was same thing, guys. This was from yesterday. Same thing with this. We predicted this correctly to see the zigzag there, guys, when we were dropping here. My view of this was still short. But I did say when you get that structure, expect a move up. I didn't say trade it up. I said if it gets there, trade it short, which was okay. But now we've had this and we got that. It's probably running flat now, guys, as opposed to short. So it's maybe in a transition period, because if you go out, it's been dropping and dropping and dropping. You'll not see me using these much, but it was just something we were talking about at the time, where I said it was going to break out of this and probably do something like that. There's it there, guys. Oh no, it's not. That's my alarm line. And probably do something like that. And I didn't trade this, but I did say at the time, if that's the top, then, and we drew this down to wherever the line came to. We weren't expecting it to. Where was that target? Why was that target there? Sorry, guys, I can't remember. But we did say it was going to drop, and that's why we put that in there. We'll take it off now. So now that it's dropped, what next? Well, if you look at how this pair's been moving for years, it's running flat, guys. So the chances are it's come off, and now it starts to run flat again. Now, what's the range of it? Well, that's the thing we don't know at the minute. But I'm just looking at that at the minute and saying, well, let's just say that's the range. So if we go back into the 1 hour time scale and you go a little bit closer, maybe it doesn't come back and hit the bottom. It could do. Well, the only reason why that would come down to there would be if the dollar goes short, guys, and goes long and pulls the euro short with it. So for me, it's not a trade at the minute. there isn't very much at the minute that I want to trade. Certainly not that I've saw so far. Euro New Zealand, we were also calling this short the other day from up in this double top. But it's entirely possible it continues up. So until I know what's happening with the dollar, I'm not going to trade anything there, guys. If you want to trade these, we've got to get an angle on what's happening with the dollar. So if the dollar continues down, then that will not happen. But if the dollar finishes and starts to go back up, then you'll get that trade. So we need to figure out the dollar first. And hopefully, sometime in the next 24 hours or 48 hours, we'll get we'll find out what the dollar's doing, whether it's going to continue to go flat or whether it's going to come long. Now, what we've said about this was, you can see we're looking for a flat correction there. That's a flat correction. That's one of these, folks. When you get the people drawing the things. So when I draw something like that, that's what I'm talking about, flat correction. And usually I'll do that as well. So what I said about this was, if it were to drop, I would trade it up. And by the time it gets there, you've probably made your money anyway. The thing is that it hasn't dropped, despite the fact that the yen has been quite strong this last week. Look, there's that push up in the yen. Now the yen has dropped, and when we were over here, we said it would drop. There's the arrow we drew way back. By the way, when we draw these arrows, we're not saying that's the target. It's just the direction, guys. And obviously, if we think it's going to go a long way, we'll draw a long arrow. If we think it's going to go in short, we'll draw a short arrow. But the point of the arrow is not a target, guys. If I put a target in, I'll put it in a green horizontal line. It's just whenever I put charts, I don't do it very often, but when I put charts up in Trading View, people ask me why, what would that be? Why I think 92.29 is the target. I'm going, no, it's not the target. I'm just saying that's the direction. That's the trend that I'm expecting. And within that, then you've got to trade it, guys. So we've come down. I haven't looked at this in a while, guys. But we've come down in the trend there. And it's bounced off. Now, the last time it bounced off, look at what it did. You get a push up and it drops, push up, it drops, push up, it drops. That's your transition. And then it goes long, guys. Now, what I mean is it goes in the opposite direction from where it was going. Because you can get a transition at the top, you get a transition at the bottom. There's the transition there. It's an ending diagonal, guys. It's come up, you get an ending diagonal, you get a quick transition. Remember, this is 6 hours, so this is massive. That's an ending diagonal there. And that's the thing about Elliott, guys. It's you look at Elliott, you read the book, you see the videos, and you get people using, all of this. It's what does that really look like on a chart? That's the hard thing about learning Elliott, guys. There's another ending diagonal there, guys. So, and a lot of the time you don't know what's going on, and that's okay. It's okay not to recognize everything. So as it was coming up here, we called it short. Now, to be honest, we didn't think it would get as high as that. As it come back up here, I was calling it short, but eventually it went. It's come back down in the trend. Does it break down and go again? Well, it could do. It can do whatever it wants. But it's been in this trend for a long time. Now, if you go out, now I shouldn't really be doing this because this is a little bit too much for where we are. But if you look at that, you would have at some point expected, a downside to that. Is this the start of the downside to it? Just as we did with DXY. Back here, when we got that, we said it would pull back and it would drop again, which is what it did. But yet again, guys, it's easy on the daily time scale to look at it and draw things. Trading, that's a completely different thing, because from here to here, it's a year and a half. So there was an awful lot of, something like 700 recordings I've done between there and there. So the 700 days between there and there, you could actually measure it. 900 days, 900 bars. Each bar's a day. So it's 900 days between there and there. So there's yet again, shows you Elliott works, but timing is everything. So we analysed this correctly, but trading through here was really tough because we actually expected this to come up, drop back down, and then come up impulsively. So the whole way through here, I was trying to trade this impulsively, and I kept getting stopped out. So we changed the trading strategy, and that trading strategy now has been working for the best part of a year. And we've gone from losing money in the trading account, small amounts, to making money in the trading account, yet again, small amounts so far. But I think we're going to do all right for the rest of the year. Okay, so I digress, guys. Let's get on with it. Let's go to the pound. Pound CAD. When we were here, we drew this. The problem is that a transition zone before it goes? Because I'm expecting strength in the CAD this year, I'm not. It'll probably move something more like that, guys. You know, but if you get the trend right, you can jump in and out as it comes up. Pound Oz. What are we on? 1 hour time scale there, guys. We said from here it would drop, but I wasn't brave enough to trade it. Or was it back there we said it would drop? Sometimes you better get out and having a look at the bigger structure. It's running flat or down in a diagonal. And at the minute it's pretty close to the middle. You know, and I don't like trading from the middle, because from the middle it'll either go long or it'll go short. If you're at the bottom, you can quite confidently trade it back up, or if you're at the top, you can quite confidently trade it down. But when you're in the middle, it's very easy to get it wrong. So generally speaking, when you get something like that, you know, you get a, you know, something that's moving like that, or flat, or, you know, down the diagonal. When it's in the middle on a higher time scale, of course, we're talking about, I'll avoid trading it. New Zealand. From there, we were looking for it to go long. It did go long, but it didn't continue on up. I don't know, guys. Not sure about the pound at the minute. Swiss, well, no. Well, what that refers to is when we were back over here, we did that. I drew it down like that, said it will come down to there, and then we'll trade it up. Now, what actually happened is we got to push up. Now, we weren't trying to trade it up from here, nor were we trying to trade it down. When I draw these, and I've made a mistake there. Where the arrow is where I would say the trade is. So if you're there and I draw that, the trade is from there up, guys. It's not from there down. And the reason you do that is because you're not sure that it's going to get there. What you're saying is, if price gets to there, then we'll consider trading it up. So that worked out nicely there. It got to there, but it got to there via that. And if you were trading short here, the chances are you'd have been stopped out up there, or you would have at least chickened out up there because you'd have thought, hey, I've got this wrong. This is going to continue going. So by trading this if then, you wouldn't have been trading it there. But once it drops, now you're in a position to make a decision. Now, you don't have to jump into it because you got the analysis right, or the half of the analysis right. What you've now got to do is consider it and go, well, we've got the first half right. We've got the if. is the then going to be right? So is that going to go long from there? Well, I'm already betting that it is because I've already got long in it around here somewhere. So I've no choice but to stay in it. I'm hoping that it doesn't run flat and drop again before it comes up. I'm hoping that it comes long from there. But that is a possibility, guys. And why is it a possibility? First of all, because of the way Elliott works, you get zigzags all over the place. You get that all the time, guys. So if you're in this bit, it's dangerous to trade long from there. You don't have to try and trade it short. But if your trend's long, then that's a dangerous place to go. And you're saying, well, you buy the dip. Well, there's a difference between getting an impulsive move and getting a corrective move. If that had come down like that, I'd have been saying today, buy this long. But because it's come down impulsively, you're going, hey, that's a bit dangerous because that could give us another one before it goes. Now, if it gets to there, or if it breaks out here and gives us a setup, from that point, it would say, hey, trade it long. Or if it drops down to the bottom, then it'd say trade it long from there. The reason I said that was as forecast is because it got to where we said it would, and now we're in a position to make a decision based on the information that we have. So at the moment, I wouldn't try to trade that long, even though I am in it. But I wouldn't try and trade it long today. Wait and see if it's going to drop further or whether it's going to push up. It will give you a pullback, and then that would be the place to trade it from. Pound euro. This is another little mistake of mine. I traded it long when it dropped. Yet again, same issue, guys. It dropped down to there somewhere. I think it might have even been that little node. And I thought, okay, because what it did over here is it came up. I said, we're looking for a drop and then we'll go. But yet again, when I said the drop, I was looking for a correction, which basically, bit of profit taking, but trend still in that direction. But when it moves impulsive like that, you need to be careful. But what I had done was I looked at that and I said, well, that's a 5-wave impulse. It immediately turned and come up. So I took the bet, the gamble that we would get another one and it would do the same thing. It would just start to come up. It didn't. It's done this. Now, what I'm trying to work out at the moment, as I've emphasized the whole of today, where the dollar's going. If the dollar comes back up long, then this will be a good trade long. But if the dollar continues to drop and the euro gets a hit off it, then this will be a bad trade. Now, I nearly closed this morning, or last night actually, and I hung on and it's pulled back again. So, well, we're going to have to wait and see. Is that just a little pullback and it's going to continue to do that? If it is, then I'm going to take a hit, 10% hit or whatever. But it's 10% of 1%, remember, or 1.5% or something like that I've got in that trade. So it's not a big deal, but nonetheless, I don't like getting things wrong. But what I'm hoping for, and the reason I've stayed in it, is that that's a tapering, and it'll maybe run flat here. And if it runs flat, it could well push up into there, before, zigzagging back and forward. And if it does make a move up to there, then I'll be able to get out of it for a zero. I'll not be hanging on to it, guys. If I got in down here and had managed to catch that, I would just put my stop loss to 0 and say, well, if it drops, I'm out for a 0. It doesn't matter. But if it starts to climb back up, then, either somewhere along here you'll hit whatever your personal target is, or if you're going to trade, for technical targets, then you'd probably wait for it to get there. So why am I not going to wait for it to get there? Because I don't know at the minute that that's what it's going to do. And if I've got something wrong, I tend to just go, right, let's get our money back and then move on to something else. There's thousands of things to trade, guys. Pound yen, same thing, guys. You can see it there. I'm hoping that this pushes up. Aussie yen, I'm also looking for this to break out long. You can see all the long arrows there. Aussie New Zealand. Listen, this could continue, but I'm hoping that it's going to break out. And, oops, push on up. Maybe come out a little bit. This pair ranges, guys. That was the previous high. I was looking for it to go a bit higher than that. And when we were here, I said, listen, we'll get a zigzag. And then we traded up. We've got the zigzag. So I'm hoping that we get the move up. Aussie Swiss. Yeah. Looking for that to move back to at least there. Could go further. Aussie CAD. Not so sure about the Aussie CAD, guys, because they're both going on. They're probably going to run flat from here. But yet again, you know, do you try and trade it up to there? Or do you wait for it to get there and then try and trade it down? I suspect it will do that. The difficulty is until it's developed, you don't know where the top and the bottom is. I suspect that's probably the bottom, but is that the top? The top could be there and then you end up running like that, so you don't know. So possibly long there. Swiss yen. I keep chickening out of this, guys. I keep trying to trade it short every time it comes up into this area. But because of the way it moves, flashing back up and down, I usually end up chickening out of it. I've done that again, guys. I'm out of it again. I made a little bit of money this time round. But the whole point of trading it short was I was looking for a nice move down into there. But as you can see, I'm back out of it again. Maybe I'll get into it again and trade it down. It's just it was pulling back up. I didn't want to go into the red again with it, guys. So maybe. And you can see how it moves. And if you take it out further, you'll see the reason why I want to short it. It's technical, guys. It's a technical trade. Every time it's got to there in the past, it's dropped off quite significantly. So I was kind of thinking, well, it could drop to there and maybe even drop as far as there. And if I look back in 2 months' time, it could well be down there, and I might be kicking myself and saying, should have stuck with it. CAD Swiss, expecting it to go long, traded all the way through here. It was nice trading because it kept coming up. We took our profit, waited for it to drop, took our profit, waited for it to drop. We actually put a nice little chart out on this a while back. I need to do more charts, guys. But don't know where it is. I haven't done many, so it's probably sitting here somewhere. There it is there. So what we basically said is it would go long, zigzagging back and forward, just as it had been. And there you go. Can't get nicer than that, can you? Okay, so once it had done that, we said, okay, coming in, bit of an ending diagonal going on there. It's not a perfect one, but you know, when you get possibly leading diagonal and then an impulse and then it starts doing that, for me that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to get a correction. So somewhere in there, there's a 2, 3, 4, 5 correction down into the fourth wave. Can it drop further? It can, but I don't think it's going to. I think the next move will be up. So I'm long in this and getting battered at the moment, but hoping that it comes up. Getting battered, I'm exaggerating there, guys. What I mean is it's gone into the red. Swiss yen, same story, guys. It's not Swiss yen, is it? CAD yen. Same story. It's come off. I'm expecting it to go long. I don't know if I'm in this one or not. It's possible that it pushes down a little bit more, but ultimately expect it to do that. New Zealand yen, looking for it to go long. CAD yen, looking for it to go long. Sorry, New Zealand CAD. Oh, no, not this one. I'm a little bit unsure with this one, New Zealand CAD. Flat. But is flat that range? Or is it, is it a tighter range than that? Don't know at the minute, so leave it alone. New Zealand, Swiss, looking for that trade there, up there, guys. Okay, I'm going to have to speed up a little bit, guys. I've been talking for far too long here. We'll miss out the stocks today. We'll go over and look at the account, which obviously I'm not going to put out on FreeTube or YouTube.